Images of encouragement being projected live on the iconic Nation Center. We are still celebrating our health workers who are fighting coronavirus and keeping the country safe. We do recognize their hard work together with everyone else providing essential services at this critical time in the country. And as Nation Media Group, we will keep supporting their efforts in keeping the country safe. Well, talking of safety, trusting that you are safe wherever you are with your family. We have plenty to cover in the next 1 hour, but first things first, as usual, the highlights. Tonight, COVID-19 mass testing points to the extent of the pandemic situation and the need for tougher measures.
24 people, 24 and I repeat 24 people tested positive for coronavirus.
The mafia wars at Afya House and the Tanzania concern. Plus, raging floods in Budalangi leave 2 dead and 10,000 families displaced.
Hatuna mahali pa kwenda.
Mtu asikae kule ambako kumefurika kisha aseme serikali itatuma chopa.
The pain of the rains is being felt in various parts of the country. And the cholera outbreak in Marsabit claims 2 more lives as patients and their families endure great agony.
We all have to wait for treatment. That is why we have no option but to spend our nights here in the cold.
The Ileret facility is under-equipped and short-staffed. And professional mourners in Migori are in tears. They say the business is dying. The reason, the coronavirus pandemic.
Sisi kwa tunasema tu at least waongeze idadi ya watu wenye wanaenda kwa matanga. Itoke kwa 15, hii 15 ni maya. At least waiweke mpaka hata ifike kwa 50 ama 30.
This is Weekend Edition with Dennis Okari.
Well, we'll start with the global figures, and we're looking at the numbers as they keep rising within the hour, and these are the latest figures as of this hour. The confirmed cases globally have now hit 3,451,033, with reported deaths rising to around 242,996. And worth noting is the number of recoveries, which has also gone up. We're looking at 1,102,430, and in the continent, we have 42,705 confirmed cases. Out of all this, we have 1,722 people have died and 14,318 people have so far recovered. That figure is also going up. Now, in the country today, it recorded its highest number of coronavirus infections in a single day, raising the total number of confirmed cases since March 13 to 435. The death toll has risen to 22 and the number of recoveries has gone up to 152. Well, we'll start our broadcast tonight, and our sign language interpreter tonight is David Gondoa. We begin in the county of Marsabit, where the COVID-19 pandemic is a lesser concern in light of the cholera outbreak and the conditions around it. 2 more people have died of the disease in Selicho village, adding to the concerning rising death toll, which in the last 2 weeks is greater than that of the coronavirus pandemic. What is worrying and disheartening is that the healthcare facilities are short-staffed, under-equipped, and thereby overwhelmed. So much so that patients are sleeping on cold floors, waiting for help, medicine, or even worse. NTV's Mark Masai reports that some of them have crossed into Ethiopia, which has better facilities without any checks at the border points.
Faces of despair at what looks like a makeshift medical facility. It serves as a dispensary here in Ileret village, Marsabit County. The health workers here stretched beyond their training, but doing all that is humanly and professionally possible to save the lives of these residents dehydrated by a cholera outbreak that has claimed over 20 lives in just 2 weeks. Some patients have to administer ORS themselves. There are only 3 nurses to help at this center day and night, and they can't turn away these patients who are in critical condition. So they have to make do with the facilities here, Personal protective equipment is the last of their concerns in their line of duty. There isn't even a proper setting to accommodate the patients.
My husband has been sleeping in an open space since he was admitted to this dispensary. I came yesterday night to stay with him. Yesterday it rained and the cold at night is really affecting me because I am 5 months pregnant and also carrying our son with me to help me and my husband at the dispensary.
It became unbearable for her to stay here.
Since yesterday, my husband and I haven't had anything to eat. I had to go hot water to feed my baby boy. I bought him soda because that is what I can afford. My pregnancy was hurting and I had to abandon my child and husband to look for shelter in a nearby village.
The county government has been in seeming denial of the situation. Marsabit Health Executive Dr. Jamal Walde has claimed they have established tents in affected areas, but that is clearly not the case. Public health officials have no vehicles to monitor cases. At least 150 other cases of cholera have been reported, with some patients having to cross over into Ethiopia where treatment prospects are better. The crossing into Ethiopia, however, is risky in the first place, especially at a time when the government has directed that movement be restricted to contain the coronavirus pandemic. Mark Masai, NTV.
Now, what is even more concerning is that there is a report that the outbreak has been attributed to interactions of the locals from the Kenyan side with the residents of Bubua in the neighboring Ethiopia, which is the epicenter of the disease that was reported a week ago, and that is forcing Kenyans again to go to the same place where this all started. Very, very sad turn of events there. And Kenya has recorded its highest number of new COVID-19 patients in 24 hours as 24 more people tested positive for the disease. This comes as the mass testing that began in Nairobi's Kawangware and Eastleigh areas is further pointing to a possible grim reality of there being many people who have the disease and are going about their business as usual and passing it on. This gets even more concerning given that many people in the capital and other parts of the country are slowly reverting to life as usual. Helen Aura brings us the details.
The concerns over the increasing number of people who have tested COVID-19 positive in various parts of Nairobi have been rising. One of the areas is Kawangware and the other is Eastleigh. The mass testing in the two areas kicked off on Friday and has already started giving more reason for worry. As at 2nd May, another 10 people in Eastleigh tested positive, bringing the area's total to 21. In Kawangware, 7 more people have been confirmed to have the disease.
Kawangware, as Madam CS has alluded to, there are 20 cases from Kawangware. 12 of these cases can be traced back to one single individual. And this single individual used to work with us at the Emergency Operations Center.
It's important to emphasize this. These are 7 new cases who are in the community. People who volunteered themselves to come and get tested.
While the numbers grow, so is the concern on what the state says is people taking the pandemic less seriously.
A random check within our city reveals that business outlets such as cyber cafes, butcheries, takeaway shops, markets, salons, barber shops have all gone back to operate as if these are normal times. And we would like to remind them that the disease is still with us.
As of now, Kenya's national count of people who have tested positive stands at 435 after 24 more people were confirmed COVID-19 positive. Of the new patients, 17 are from Nairobi County, 5 from Mombasa and 2 from Migori. 1 more person has succumbed to the disease, bringing the death toll to 22, while 2 more people have been discharged, bringing the recoveries to 152. The rising number of patients and exposures to the disease presents the challenge of need for more quarantine facilities.
And therefore, in anticipation of this surge of numbers, we must therefore now begin a serious conversation around the issue of the quarantine system. And to this end, the Ministry of Health is reviewing home-based care, quarantine mechanisms, and we shall soon be able to issue specific guidelines.
As normalcy seems to have returned within the city, the government now says that this could prove to be a dangerous trend. Kenyans are being urged to adhere to the stipulated government measures. Helen Aura, NTV.
Still at Ministry of Health, the fierce tug of war over the billions of shillings allocated to the Ministry of Health for containment of coronavirus has reached peak level. Tonight, the Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has transferred 30 senior health officials from the Ministry of Health in a move seen as attempting to fight back the cartels that have dominated for decades one of the country's most crucial ministries. Seth Olale reports that as many fight to protect and save their lives in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, others within the Ministry of Health are fighting over the billions meant to fight the disease.
Remember, this is not a ministry of coronavirus. This is actually the Ministry of Health, and there are many other diseases and conditions that we deal with.
One would imagine that the backbone of Kenya's health system would be focused fully on fighting the coronavirus scourge. However, the leadership at the Ministry of Health is currently said to also be breaking its back, fighting a powerful and well-established cartel that has thrived for decades at Afya House. There seems to be a different kind of infection at Afya House requiring surgical treatment.
Pesa yote ambayo imetumika kupambana na hii jangwa, wakati ukifika, it shall be audited in broad daylight.
The CS Mutahi Kagwe has given no nonsense impression of his style of leadership, but it may take more than impressions to deal with the mafia in his own house. CS Kagwe, barely in office for 3 months, confirmed through a Facebook post what he is battling, and he didn't mince his words in the statement that read in part, "I am no greenhorn. I have seen such mischief before, wasn't intimidated then, and will not be intimidated now. Watch my actions, they will illustrate this." And he backed it with his words a day later.
If indeed their race won, we will not be spared. And I meant it, and I mean it, even now.
The CS translating his words to action by transferring 30 senior accounting, procurement and accounting officers, some of whom have been at the helm of the ministry for more than 10 years, overseeing multi-billion shillings programs in one of the most well-funded dockets in government. Some of the senior officials moved include Assistant Accountant General Margaret Ngangu and Senior Accountant Anne Mwalonzi. Others include over 15 Senior Supply Chain Management Officers led by Principal Supply Chain Management Officer Shira Lydia Wairimu and Chief Supply Chain Officer Geshuka David Moranga. The officers have been redeployed to the National Treasury, the State Department of Environment, Devolution, Cooperatives and the National Youth Service. Needless to say, the transfer of corrupt suspects would simply be moving the problem to other state departments, get a load of the controversial multi-billion shilling expenditure by the Ministry of Health towards COVID-19 containment following a whopping 6 billion disbursement from the World Bank to fight the pandemic. The ministry has been criticized for splashing millions on non-essential expenses such as refreshments, communication, and expensive leasing of medical equipment and personnel.
They have to eat, they have to be fed, they have to take tea, they have to be there. What are they supposed to do? Are they not supposed to eat at some point?
In his presentation to Parliament, the Health CS said his ministry had spent 6 million shillings on airtime allowance, 10 million for tea and snacks, 42 million for leasing 15 ambulances, 13.5 million for accommodation of 30 healthcare workers needing quarantine services for 90 days, and 14 million shillings for maintenance and fueling of 30 vehicles. 2.5 million was allocated for stationery, 70 million for communications, and 132 million shillings for personal protective equipment.
So let's put things in perspective. Not to say that we are not investigating everything. Here every shilling is investigated for and accounted for.
The battle over control of the billions has spilled over to the Kenya Medical Research Institute and the National Influenza Center, who are embroiled in a war over which agency is mandated to lead the war against COVID-19. The first casualty in this tug of war among the scientists being Dr. Joel Lutomia, a director of the Center for Virus Research at Kemri, who has since been demoted.
As the ministry, we will not micromanage any institution. We will streamline our institutions so that management issues do not become a challenge in COVID-19 management.
Just last year, the Ministry of Health was embroiled in a 10.9 billion shilling scandal after the then Auditor General Edward Ouko indicated that critical payment vouchers and other supporting documents were not availed for auditing, raising the red flag on expenditure at Afya House. In 2018, close to 7 billion shillings was unaccounted for in the procurement of 37 CT scanners under the Managed Equipment Service, which was a deal between the Kenyan and Chinese governments. Will the new man in charge cure Afya House that has been ravaged by a disease that has seen taxpayers lose billions as perpetrators walk scot-free? There may be the question of whether CS Mutahi is immune in the first place to the infection of corruption, given the underlying cartel-like conditions within his ministry. Seth Olale, NTV.
Well, we'll be looking more on those stories on COVID-19 as the CSAs will be dismantling graft cartels at Afias and also NHIF. We remember the stories that we covered this quite extensively on System Yamajambazi, and we will be mulling over to just wait and see what happens. Now, as the government continues intensifying the fight against the spread of COVID-19 across the country, one being limiting the number of mourners allowed to attend burials, professional mourners from Migori County now want the numbers be reviewed since they are incurring losses on a daily basis. Adding that, they also are receiving calls from their customers across the country, but because of the lockdown in other areas and curfew, their businesses have been seriously hindered. NTV's Bernardo Juang visited them and filed the following report.
Well, as business community continue raising their concern over the dwindling economy following the outbreak of coronavirus worldwide, a group of youths here in Migori County involved in professional mourning business are now saying that they are the most hit since the government limited the number of mourners in funerals, and they now want something to be done. We sought to know why and how. Our journey started in the Migori Town Central Business District heading to Aruba Ragana, Suna West constituency, where the professional mourners lay. Head of the Ghanaian pallbearers, well, this is the Migori version. We found them practicing, not quite for an upcoming funeral, as such gatherings have been banned, but just to show that theirs is a profession that requires good profession. These young men from Migori make a living from the dead, literally helping families and friends mourn their loved ones. 24-year-old Daniel Ochieng, commonly known as Jamdoz Mwenyewe, the group founder, says that together with his colleagues they'd been laughing all the way to the bank previously from their professional cries during burial ceremonies, but now with COVID-19 they are neither crying nor laughing.
Kusema kweli sisi ndio tumeumia sana, yani tumeathirika tu pakubwa. Naweza sema hata kama watu wa biashara wengine pia wanalia pale nje, lakini kwetu sisi tumepoteza pesa. Ni pesa mingi tumepoteza sana. Unajua ukiitwa hata mara 3 kwa wiki, na imagine unaweza pata kimu kama 30,000, 20,000. Hiyo pesa ukiongeza kwa mwezi mmoja hata ni pesa mingi sana. Lakini sasa hii mimi nikipiga tu hesabu ya pesa yenye tumepotea tangu hii mambo na corona ianze, imagine mimi naona kama inaweza fika 450,000 huko, 600. Ni pesa mingi.
Tunaonewa kabisa. Hatuwezi ingia pale, watu 15 ni kidogo sana. Wangeweka ikuwe watu kaa 30 hivi, tungefix hata watu wawili wakuwe hapo ndani. Walie jioni tupate hata kitu.
Janga ya corona imekuwa mbaya.
Ochieng explains that they passionately cry for the bereaved, evoke emotions and paint a somber mood at an agreed fee. They charge at least 1,000 per session, and their package can include a 3-part ceremony or depending on the pay. The first part is when the body is being taken from the mortuary to the homestead, where they cry so hard and convincingly to the extent that people who did not know the deceased will hold the departed in high regard.
Kuna procedures zenye huwa tunafuata sana tukitoka pale kwa mortuary tukienda nyumbani. Hapo katikati tunapata kama watu wa nyumbani pia wanatusaidia juu analea hapo katikati juu tukianza pale tukikuja nyumbani pia usiku tunaanza. Lakini unapata kama wakati wengine watu wamerelax kwa boma sana, ni kupiga story, bro umetoka wapi, mimi nitoka Kosi, hivi nafanya kazi hivi, vitu kama hizo. Lakini saa hizo tukiona kama watu wameconcentrate kuchat sana, watu kuongea mingi na wanajua walikuja kwa matanga, we keep them awake.
Sasa hiyo kazi ambayo ya kugusa sanduku ya kufanya nini, hapo ndio itabidi ama mwenye alituita aone eti hawa sasa anafanya vizuri, wacha tuongeze hata kitu kidogo. Sio eti hiyo ni lazima ambao walituambia eti mpaka tuguse sanduku sijui tufanye nini ndio atatuongeza pesa, hapana. Sasa hiyo ni sympathy.
Many have argued that it is wrong to make money from funerals or people who are grieving, but for these lads it is a job just like any other, since their work is to evoke emotions.
Tutamani mtu akufe, ni kukufa tu ni bahati, ni kama bahati, mtu akikufa ni bahati, ndio sisi pia tuitwe leo, kwa sababu kifo ni kama basic need. Kifo ni basic need. Mtu anakufa, kila siku watu wanakufa, wanareplacewa na wale watu wenye wamezaliwa, na ni kitu yenye iko hapo, ni kama kwenda shuleni na ni kama kutafuta chakula. Sasa tunajua mtu mpaka kufe tutapata kazi.
Do their family members know what their job entails? You may wonder.
Bibi yangu nilimchukua kama tunafanya hiyo kazi. Sasa wewe kunichukua kwa sababu nilimwambia eti kazi ambayo ninafanya ni hiyo. Hakuna kazi nyingine. Kwa sababu siwezi kudanganya eti nafanya kwa boda ama nifanye kwa ofisi na kesho anione kama naanza kulia. Hata tuseme kama hiyo matanga ambayo nimeitwa pale, niende na yeye pia ako hapo, alafu ana vile nalia.
So mpaka yeye pia appreciate tu chenye nafanya juu ni kazi yangu. Mimi sifanyi kwa mochari, lakini nafanya hiyo kazi ya professional mourner. Mimi sio muizi, lakini hiyo professional mourner ndio yeye pia kule. Sasa yeye anaweza kukataa kwa nini?
Migori professional mourners say they enjoy what they do and their business is growing day by day and getting clients countrywide, but COVID-19 pandemic is killing their business.
Watu wengi wanadhani tu tunasema hapa tuko na mama nurses wenye pia walisomea hiyo kazi yao. Mimi pia ni community health worker, pia nilifanya course ya social work. Imagine, na hakuna haja ukishagundua kitu yenye unaweza fanya upate pesa mingi ama pesa nzuri, hakuna haja ukimbilie huko juu pale, ile hiyo bado ni process mingi.
Bernardo Juang, NTV.
Oh boy, I can't get over the statement of kifo ni basic need. I covered a similar story in 2014. Nothing has changed. You're getting lots of responses here. Let's keep that conversation going about what they're doing. A lot of people are laughing about the story, and they're very, very serious, those gentlemen. But someone here says, this is Irene at Jubilee. Waambia upgrade to dance like those Ghanaian pallbearers. And on that note, just marinate on the images of those guys and the music, let it play on. And we take a break, we'll be back.
Oh, yani aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igi kosi yote. Siri ni hii real mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia aerial touch of down mpya tu.
What do you see on the horizon? They say how you start your decade will determine how the rest of it will be. Imagine a decade full of opportunities, investment being one of them. Do you want a place to feed your mind, body and soul? A place to unwind every day, where you can get your health and fitness goals attained? A secure place for your family? A center for quality academic goals for your kids? Or perhaps a place to connect with your friends? Well, you can get all this and more at Amani Ridge, the place of peace, just 20 kilometers from the CBD. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Welcome to the conferencing service.
Emma! Carry on, Ken.
First quarter sales, they're up 90%.
Very good. Very good.
We're looking at a 55 billion shilling profit by the end of the financial year.
Now you're talking. Here we talk billions. Very good. I gotta go. Wacha niendelee na kazi.
A person has left the conference.
Niko nyumbani. Downloads are very fast. Streaming, eco. And I'm just working from here. Stay connected and work from the convenience of wherever you are. Fiber to the home.
Working from home? No problem. Fiber Home has you covered with the fastest and most reliable internet speeds. Get connected today. Kazi lazima iendelee.
The risk of illness causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach. And use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, Jig, and Hapik.
Selena!
Toto, where's mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible!
Challenge! Hapik 10X. Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Hapik 10X will give you.
Wow!
Hapik 10X. Hapik, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
I tried to, do the gymnastics I was used to as a photographer. I want to climb up somewhere. But when I did that, I came down with part of that wall.
The prevalence of obesity amongst adults is at an all-time high, especially in women.
Whenever you're taking rice, you're taking almost an equivalent of the same teaspoons of sugar.
We try to understand why and how this can be managed.
Big fat farewell. Kwa heri mafuta. Mafuta tuachie gari.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap that gives the best germ protection ever against many illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
sights and scenes from outside Nation Center and the CBD. We're still celebrating our health workers in the fight against COVID-19, and we're still getting a lot of reactions on that story done by Bernardo Juang from Migori on the mourners, and plenty of them very, very funny, but I'll go through them once you're done with the serious business, because they're very, very, very funny. So we go to Mombasa, where the rate of coronavirus transmission in the county of Mombasa is still a worrying trend after the Ministry of Health confirmed 5 new cases. Old Town is becoming the area of focus now as the government threatens to lock down the area in an effort to have the residents get tested and to stem the spread of the virus. Kevin Mutai with the details.
COVID-19 transmission in Mombasa is still increasing exponentially as the total county tally hit beyond 100 number of infected persons. 38 people have been infected with the deadly virus in Old Town. Residents are blatantly disregarding government and county directives.
5 are from Mombasa, and this therefore brings the total number of Mombasa cases to 129.
Tuko na mtoto wa miaka miwili positive. Mtoto wa miaka 11 positive. Mtoto wa miaka 12 positive. Wewe bado una audacity ya to find time kuingia katika mtandao wa social media kusema tuwaonewa.
11 people have died in Mombasa because of the virus. 6 come from Old Town.
Twajua mafungua mwadhini pamoja, twajua. Forget about it. Wafikiri kama si hatuna family. We have families. Twazipenda. Just like you love your family. Lakini tunajichunga kwa sasa. Kila mtu afungua maadhini kivyake, na lau kama tuko nyumbani tuwakaa na watu ambao hawatoki ndani ya nyumba, kwa sababu usijiona una nguvu sana. Corona iko namna hii. Kuna watu wako na symptomatic na wengine ni asymptomatic. Huwezi kuiona. Strong na akikohoa, akikuzungumzia chini ya mita 1 amekuachia corona. Wewe na ubabe wako utoke umfate mamako nyumbani antulia na saumu, yomba Mwenyezi Mungu wake umpelekee corona.
Old Town Mombasa ni mahali hatari. Hatari sana. Hii ni sehemu ambayo iko na population ya watu 28,000. Tayari kuna maambukizi 38.
Although efforts put in place by health authorities, tracing of infected persons have been met with resistance, many opt to conceal information about their loved ones. Only 7 people were tested today in the entire area whose population is over 18,000.
Mutapimwa, my friend. Take it from me. Na mnanijua mimi nikisema si umuhimu maneno, mutapimwa. Na kama hamupimwi tutawafungia ndani ya majumba yenu. Kama mnao muambukizana nyinyi wenyewe huko ndani.
Sisi tutafunga Old Town. Mutabakia pale ndani na kuwalazimisha mfanye mass testing mkiwa pale ndani, kwa sababu kuna baadhi ya watu pale ambao hawajali.
Local administration officers have been directed to collect information of all residents within Old Town as Department of Health prepares to enforce mass screening exercise. Law enforcement officers have also issued a warning to those congregating in mosques and other places of worship, maintaining that security will be beefed up to fight the virus 24/7. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
While individual countries seek to keep up an effective fight against the coronavirus disease, there remains the concern of lack of coordination and unity in purpose. This has come to the fore as some countries in the region are being seen as putting up a fight that is not in line with the rest of the states, thereby increasing the risk of a slower and less effective war against the pandemic.
Tanzania has so far the highest number of people confirmed to have COVID-19 in the region, with 480 having tested positive. Kenya follows close behind with 435, Rwanda with 249, Uganda with 85, South Sudan with 45, and Burundi with 11 as of Saturday. As the worries of cross-border transmission increase, Kenya has registered a Tanzania-related case.
One of our cases today is actually a contact who had come in traveling from Tanzania.
This is one of the now few imported cases which comes on the back of concerns over the actual number of infections in Kenya's neighbor to the south and the treatment of the situation. As the jitters increase, the Ministry of Health has sought to assure Kenyans that cross-border travel issues are being monitored closely by regional member states.
Discussions have been held and agreements have been made in terms of how we can ensure cross-border travel is going on in a manner where screening is effected and we're actually ensuring we're protecting EAC as a community.
Other East African countries have implemented lockdowns, curfews, and strict social distancing measures. However, in Tanzania, though schools and universities have been closed, markets, bus stops, and shops continue to host the usual bustle. The possible risk therein brings to the fore the need to have a coordinated approach as a region. Otherwise, the fight will prove tougher.
The bedroom is Uganda, the sitting room is Kenya, the other sitting room is Tanzania, the other big bedroom is Congo, the inner room is South Sudan. How will you get to the gate without going through? This is not the problem we are having now. How do you manage a house of 5, 6 rooms or 7 rooms? We have swept Corona from here now, from the bedroom. We have swept. I think we have swept somehow. But from the sitting room, from the sitting room. So what are we going to do?
In the case of Rwanda, we have noticing a problem. While we had really taken full control of the situation and reining in the virus, in fact, more people had recovered than those who were being affected. All of a sudden, cross-border activities introduced other numbers rapidly.
In a recent virtual Africa Union Heads of State meeting, President Uhuru Kenyatta also pushed for regional harmony in a bid to combat the growing pandemic.
If we are to defeat this enemy, we need to really be able to ensure that through our RECs we are able to communicate, to work together, to be able to deal with cross-border issues, because unless we fight together, we will lose together.
The fight against the invisible enemy continues, and the leaders say it will be won with greater ease if it is done in a united and transparent way. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
From coronavirus to the heavy rains that the country has been experiencing now, 2 people have been swept away by flash floods in Budalangi, Busia County, while hundreds of displaced families have moved to higher ground. Raging floods, which have left trails of destruction and swept away villages, has only worsened and is slowly turning into a calamity. Residents claim that the extreme floods are as a result of Lake Victoria reaching capacity and unable to hold any more water.
This scene has unfortunately become a seasonal synonymous one with Budalangi constituency, Busia County. Only different thing is rains have come at a time when the world is already drenched with the unprecedented coronavirus pandemic. This area, which has suffered disastrous floods annually since the 1960s, had gotten some relief in the last few years thanks to slightly improved government interventions. But now they are back to zero as the ravaging floods have slowly made way into their homes and destroyed property. 2 people were swept away by flood waters as they tried to cross a swollen river. More than 5,000 families have been left homeless, while others have been forced to vacate their homes after their houses flooded. Residents of Mau Mau, Rukala, Bulwani, Mdimbia in Bunyala South are the most affected. Residents are forced to use canoes for navigation to access their homes.
Budalangi iko na 4 wards. Tayari ward 3 ziko chini ya maji. Hii ni ward ya Bunyala Central, imeenda yote.
Lakini maji yakizidi unga utasombwa na itakuwa tu ni watu kuja kusema ruere Nyasaye amurinde. Atakuwa shaenda. Kwa hivyo watu kwa hiari yao wahame. Mtu asikae kule ambako kumefurika kisha aseme serikali itatuma chopa.
The heavy rainfall and the backflow floods have caused most latrines and toilets to fill up, effluent overflowing, that being an almost certain way of spreading cholera, the last thing residents here would need given the COVID-19 pandemic. The affected families say they have nowhere to go as the level of water keeps rising. Some families in Mangombe have had to put up temporary shelters. Others have sought refuge in churches and schools.
Tumelala hapa. Tukiamka usibuhi, maji imejaa kwa maboma yote ndi. Hii vitu tukua tu. Tangu usibuhi sijakula, vile mnaniona hata sijapika. Angalia vitu vyote kutoka kwa nyumba na unaenda kwa maji ambayo yanafika hapa hivi.
Hatuna mahali pa kwenda. Hatuna makapera. Hatuna chakula.
The flooding has been attributed to a water backflow from Lake Victoria. Residents are blaming the siltation of rivers that drain Lake Victoria to be the cause of the backflow, since water does not flow smoothly into the lake.
Na hii maji bado mnaona hii saa hii haikupaswa katika kaunti ya Busia. Hii imekauzwa katika kaunti ya Siaya ambapo tunapakana nayo. Ndio maji yanasukuma pande hii yote. Hata hii maji hii mafuriko hii haingetupata. Serikali angalie sana hasa mbunge ila hii plus MCA. Wajaribu kusukuma watu wafanye kazi waleta ili tusipate sababu namna hii. Maana sasa nyumba zetu zinaanguka.
Area leaders have called on the national government to prioritize dredging of River Nzoia with a view of providing a permanent solution to the perennial floods in the area. The forecast for the days to come does not look good. The weatherman warning residents not only here to brace for the impact of more pounding rains. The rising water levels of Lake Victoria have also disrupted businesses, destroyed property and displaced thousands of people living and working by its Ugandan shores. Water has moved more than 13.12 meters ashore, the second highest on record since it rose to 13.46 meters in 1964. Rozongwe, NTV.
It's exactly 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's take a breather. I'll be back with more stories. Stay with us.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Na nikirudi huko umemaliza. Can you tell Kinyanjui to come to my office? Get him now! Kinyanjui, this is a problem, yeah? Next time, uende ununue selector yako, utengeneze sandwich zako, uachane na sandwich za boss.
Selector. The difference is in the taste. And now, Selector comes with free Zesta jam for a limited period of time.
John suffers from indigestion. His twin James suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Have you shared your bongo points with someone who needs them? Remember to help a friend or anyone in need to buy food using your bongo points. Stay at home, but still stay together with your loved ones and friends using bongo points. Share your story or video of how you've helped a fellow Kenyan to our FB page NTV Kenya, Twitter page at NTV Kenya, Instagram at NTV Kenya, SMS 20686 or our WhatsApp number 0745 925 002.
Good morning, Janet.
Wow! And you are?
I'm Casey. Now help you with anything to do with your KCB bank account. Pay bills, transfers, statements.
You're hired.
I'm the internet banking security ninja. I'm your 24/7 personal assistant.
Super.
So, we can always talk about your account, online, whenever you like. Need a ride?
Let's go.
Alrighty. With you anywhere, anytime.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, even though the experimental drug remdesivir has been authorized by U.S. regulators for emergency use against COVID-19, the Ministry of Health is cautioning people not to think of this as a cure for the disease. The antiviral made by Gilead Sciences was shown in a major clinical trial to shorten the time of recovery in some coronavirus patients, the first time any medicine has had a proven benefit against the disease. It found that hospitalized COVID-19 patients with respiratory distress got better 31% faster than those on a placebo. The company has announced it was donating some 1.5 million doses for free. This amounts to about 140,000 treatment courses based on a 10-day treatment duration. Remdesivir, which is administered by an injection, was already available to some patients who enrolled in clinical trials or who sought it out on a compassionate use basis. The body of a police officer who was among 7 who were washed away by flash floods in Baringo County has been recovered. One other officer's body is still yet to be found. This is according to the police. The lifeless remains were recovered about 500 meters from the scene by a multi-agency team comprising of Kenya Police, Kenya Air Force, and the Kenya Red Cross. The officers attached to the anti-stock theft unit met their death while trying to cross River Kagir while heading to their camp in Chemoy on Thursday evening after a security meeting. The search for the final officer, who was the driver of the lorry, is still on.
Jana tulipata habari ya hii maneno kupitia mtandao, na wakati tulifika hapa tulipata timu nzima ya serikali inashughulika kuwatafuta wao waathiriwa. Mpaka saa hizi hatujaona huyo kijana wetu na huyo mwingine ambaye tunaambiwa alikuwa pamoja.
We are not yet over with this operation. We'll call the operation off once we recover the remaining body together with the firearms that are still underwater.
The devastation of what is currently happening in the country with the rains, the floods, and all that. Remember, I'll be reading some of your responses, your comments on Bernardo Juang's story, The Morning Mourn. There's a lot of reactions on social media. I'll be reading some of them. But first things first, let's take a break. I'll be back. There are plenty more stories to cover.
If we continue to behave normally, this disease will treat us abnormally.
Melissa?
Mom, it's Dad's birthday today. I'm giving him a party just like he gives me.
Nothing makes a mother more proud than seeing her child growing up. But I know that as she learns to care for others, she'll face even more germs and the risk of illnesses.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Just 1 cup of Dettol protects your home and family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Welcome home to Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Your own urban sanctuary. A lifestyle waiting for you just 20 kilometers from the CBD. A place to unwind and get your health and fitness goals attained. A secure place for your family. A place for your children to have fun. A place to enjoy a sundowner. Success just doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. Make the impossible possible. Invest in Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Luxury you can afford. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
The Jubilee Party is headed for a fresh showdown after the party Secretary General Raphael Tuju disregarded a letter from the Registrar of Political Parties and went ahead to gazette 5 new members to the National Management Committee. The move has irked Deputy President William Ruto's side, and Tuju's deputy Caleb Kositani is promising a bruising battle. NTV's senior political affairs reporter Kennedy Murithi with the details.
The DP Ruto's side of Jubilee is now initiating its next move to take control of the party after the Secretary General Raphael Tuju disregarded a directive from the Registrar of Political Parties requiring an internal mechanism to solve party issues. In a notice, Tuju has moved ahead to gazette 5 members to the party's National Management Committee, in essence dealing a blow to DP Ruto and his team who have opposed the move.
The real reason the Secretary General wanted to populate some of those positions in the National Management Committee is at the guidance and the advice of the Registrar of Political Parties in terms of wanting now to prepare the party for the elections which they were calling for.
Political parties. The Registrar of Political Parties had requested the Jubilee Party to use its own internal mechanisms to sort out pending issues, which meant party organs had to be called, and in a way hand the DP a win as he believes he commands a majority of the membership.
The last time we met as NEC was on the 28th of March 2017 when we appointed Tuju as the SG.
To the DP team, this means war. In a rejoinder, Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositani notes that Tuju's move is against the law and shows the highest level of arrogance. I quote him, "We expected Tuju to call a NEC meeting or even a PG. In his arrogance and directed by cabals, he has gone ahead to submit the 5 names to replace 3, all of whom don't qualify because they are not NEC members." He further states, "We will stick to the law and maintain that Jubilee must hold a NEC meeting and PG as soon as possible."
We will read the Constitution thoroughly and see where there is an opportunity for us to have a meeting. If the party leader is busy, then we shall definitely have a meeting, because the party must be run as per the Constitution.
The push and pull in the Jubilee Party has seen the president and his deputy pull in different directions. In fact, they no longer appear together at functions, as the DP is left to tweet his thoughts, most of which are critical of unnamed people frustrating his 2022 bid.
He says he talks to the party leader, and now he's coming out interrogating party issues on Twitter, on social media. Now, what is what? If they talk, isn't this an internal party matter which he can raise his phone or just walk into State House and discuss it with his party leader.
DP Ruto's allies have expressly insisted they will not leave the Jubilee party and will fight from within as pressure mounts for their exit.
Our option number 1 is Jubilee, our option number 2 is Jubilee, our option number 3 is Jubilee. So we don't have any other party that we're looking at. We are not negotiating with any other party.
We will see who walks and who doesn't walk. But even if we're still in control of Jubilee, we would like our Jubilee to reach out to other parties like Musalia's party, Kalonzo's party, ODM. The new formation should have the face of Kenya.
Sources tell NTV there is a likelihood of a Jubilee meeting at State House Nairobi on Tuesday, where over 50 Uhuru-friendly MPs have been invited and sweeping changes in the party and parliament are expected. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
Still on that note, on the politics that is just surrounding Jubilee Party, Deputy President William Ruto's allies who are fighting to regain control of the ruling Jubilee Party have taken the war to President Uhuru Kenyatta's doorstep. They have a barrage of revelations, including an expose on how a company associated with the president's relatives was awarded an exclusive multi-million shilling tender to supply key campaign materials to Jubilee Party in the run-up to the 2017 elections. Details of the tenders to the Kenyatta kin, which insider critics of the party are calling, in quotes, conflict of interest, now form part of a concerted fight back by DP Ruto's camp in the wake of the announcement by Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju that the party has formally kicked out 5 members of the National Management Committee and appointed replacements without the Deputy President's approval. As one observer puts it, the divorce is about to get messy and a lot of beans will be spilled in the process. Grab a copy of the Sunday Nation tomorrow for this exclusive story on the dramatic unraveling of the country's biggest political party. You don't want to miss this story in your Daily Nation tomorrow, Sunday Nation. We'll take a break and Sean Kadavilis will be here with the day's sports news.
Breastfeeding ruins the shape of your breasts. This myth is false. Feeding your baby at night makes breastfeeding easier. Yes, this is true. Small breasts can't produce enough milk. This myth is false.
Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Bye diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
I tried to, do the gymnastics I was used to as a photographer. I want to climb up somewhere. But when I did that, I came down with part of that wall.
The prevalence of obesity amongst adults is at an all-time high, especially in women.
Whenever you're taking rice, you're taking almost an equivalent of the same teaspoons of sugar.
We try to understand why and how this can be managed.
Big fat farewell. Kwa heri mafuta. Mafuta tuachie gari.
Very good evening to you. I'm Sean Carter-Bellis with the latest sports news. Now, despite mass gatherings and sporting events in the country being halted for the foreseeable future, the organizers of the 2020 WRC Safari Rally are continuing with preparations for July's event. Now, officials in charge of the event have been busy preparing the service park on the outskirts of Naivasha town, along with continuing to release information for competitors and teams that, according to World Rally Championship regulations, the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc on the 2020 WRC calendar, with only 3 rallies in the 14-round championship having been run in Monte Carlo, Sweden and Mexico, although the Mexico round was hurriedly dispensed with as the pandemic reared its ugly head. Brilliant action from the Kasarani spectator stage last year. Now, the United States women's football team's bid for equal pay has been dismissed by a court, with the judge rejecting the players' claims they were underpaid according to the men. The lawsuit was filed by 28 women's national team players last year against the U.S. Soccer Federation. They had been seeking $66 million, which is about 6.6 billion Kenya shillings in damages under the Equal Pay Act. The player spokeswoman Molly Levinson said they plan to appeal against the decision. The U.S. team won the Women's World Cup last summer for their 4th title overall, and they've also won 5 Olympic gold medals.